There was a time when a 500 week would be cause for like a parade, a major celebration with these Kansas City Royals. Instead, it's disappointment. The Royals drop a tough one, drop a series to the Jays, but it's another 500 week for the Royals. Where's our playoff optimism now? We'll check the playoff optimism meter. Are they defying numbers? Are they lucky? Unlucky? Is it possible to be both? The good Dr. Rany Jazayerli is going to tell us whether or not that is the case. We'll also talk a little bit about the roster. Is it time to make some changes? Daniel Lynch had a good start, not sure how. And is this the worst hitting outfield in baseball? Something tells me Randy's going to tell us it is. Next on the Kaufman Corner podcast.
You're listening to Kaufman Corner, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Royals, breaking down the Royals like no one else can. Kaufman Corner is hosted by Rany Jazayerli and Soren Petro. Rany is a co-founder of Baseball Prospectus, author of Rany and the Royals, and former columnist for Grantland, The Ringer, and The Athletic. Soren is the award-winning afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Kaufman Corner is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here's your hosts, Rany Jazayerli and Soren Petro.
Thank you, Curtis. Back at it here, talking some Royals baseball. As we said, Rany, after a 500 week, that is the good doctor, Dr. Rany Jazayerli. I'm Soren Petro, 3-3. Now just 3 games left on the 19-game Prove It Tour. That is what it was dubbed, at least by Adam Dravetta, who works with me on our radio show, The Program, which I like. I actually kind of like it. When they set sail, these were all teams that were above 500, and they now sit at 500. They're at 16, or excuse me, they're at 8-8.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have a chance to make this still a winning trip, which would be amazing. I don't know, just your thoughts this week, 3-3 overall.
Yeah, if you had asked me this question at about, 4:30 this afternoon, I'd be feeling a lot better. I mean, today was a tough one. To get 5 shutout innings from emergency starter Daniel Lynch the fourth, and to go to the 8th inning up 2 runs with John Schreiber and James MacArthur rested and ready to go. It was a tough one, not just because they both gave up a run in the 8th and 9th, and then I guess in the 10th inning, the zombie runner scoring off MacArthur, but also the opportunities to extend their lead when they could have. I mean, Salvador Perez, who's been one of the 2 most important players on this team all season, hadn't struck out in, I think, like 40 plate appearances in a row going into yesterday. Struck out 5 times in the last 2 games, including in the bottom of the 8th after Dairon Blanco had stolen second and third base with 1 out. Had a chance to score an insurance run there. He struck out on a fastball right down the middle, which allowed the Rangers to tie the game on a home run off the fair pole. So games like that will happen. Sometimes the other team gets paid to play too, and the Rangers are defending World Series champions. So it hurts. It sucks. But you know what? The hurt is good. The pain is good because the games matter, right? Like with this point dude, I made this statement on Twitter and pissed a lot of people off when 2 games ago, because the Royals were 20-13. And I said, if the Royals lost their next 39 games in a row, they would still have a better record than they did at the same point last year. The Royals were 19-53. So now they'd have to lose only 37 in a row. I still don't think they're going to do it, guys. So I think we're okay. These games matter. Maybe they won't matter at the end of the month, but none of their games mattered after about April 15th last year. So I'm okay with, a painful loss as long as they learn from it, and as long as they frankly, find some offense so that when they do have a lead like this, they don't have to hold on for dear life when they've got 2 or 3 reliable relievers on the team right now.
Yeah, Cam agrees with you. I always say it feels good for a loss to feel bad. Means you had expectations, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a big part of it. And that's where we are. I mean, I think that's what this whole, our bit about the 19 games was all about. This is the test. Are they a legit team? Are they good enough to play with the big boys? And we're finding out the answer is absolutely yes, they are. And that's what makes it hurt when they lose, because this is a team that can win, and especially to have the Rangers down 2-0. Those are killers. I've said it a million times. You lose late, it's 2 losses. It's not 1, it's 2. Because it's the loss you put in the loss column, but it's the win you got to take down and hand back.
Mm-hmm.
So, look, and I was looking through McCarthy. McArthur had pitched once since April 25th before today. I mean, listen, maybe we can find a way to nitpick on Matt Quatraro. Was he rusty, McArthur, when he's out there?
Well, I mean, this
don't
is
know.
why this happened a week or a week and a half ago. He hadn't pitched in 6 games, and just like that game, he let him pitch 2 innings today. Right? I mean, he went back out there for the 10th, which I completely agree with, because especially with that zombie runner on second base, you need your best guy out there. And okay, they scored a run, but only 1 run. The Royals had the tying run on second base with nobody out in the bottom of the inning. Didn't bring him home. I think sometimes you can try to find, they did this wrong. Quatraro made a mistake. Sometimes you just get beat, even if you get beat late, and that's I think what just happened today. So you don't want to read too much into it. It hurts. It'll be really interesting to see how they come back tomorrow against a good team in the Brewers, but they're at home.
And the Brewers actually playing better than the Rangers. I mean, Rangers came in just a game over 500. The Brewers, my favorite team, because they always do the right mathematical thing, not like do it most of the time, but then when we think we're close, we're not going to do it. I mean, to the chagrin of many like yourself, they go ahead and trade guys off even when they're in pennant races. They always do the right mathematical thing, and they benefit from it. And this is a good team.
Well, it's been really impressive. I mean, this is a season because how much of it was the organization, how much of it was correct counsel. Like, they lost their manager who, by metrics and by reputation is one of the best managers in the game, to their main in-division rival in the Chicago Cubs, and they haven't missed a beat. So yeah, the Brewers really, when we talk about like very well-run organizations, I really don't think the Brewers get nearly enough credit, especially as a Royals fan looking for a a model that is replicable in Kansas City. Like, the Dodgers are amazing, and there are many things the Royals can learn from the Dodgers. Spending $35 million a year on, or $30 million a year for 12 years on Mookie Betts is probably not a lesson the Royals are going to learn, right? So sometimes you got to look at the teams in your market size and figure out what they're doing right. And so the Brewers are definitely an excellent model. But the great thing about tomorrow, momentum is tomorrow's starting pitcher. Cole Reagans takes the mound tomorrow. That'll go a long way if he goes out and has a great outing. This is a great chance for him to put the bitter taste of today out of everyone's mind.
Yeah, no doubt. We're proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Parking lot problems, they've been making them disappear in KC since 1994. Proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. That's 816-484-3338. Rany, lucky, unlucky, better to be lucky than good is a phrase I like. But over 162 games, you're not going to get away with just luck. Is this team lucky or unlucky?
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be the one word answer I got for you. Is it better to be lucky than good at the end of the year? Absolutely. At this point in the year, probably better to be good and hope the luck evens out. And the Royals, there are certainly aspects of the team that make you think they're lucky. We talked somewhat about this last week when talking about their adjusted standings, when you adjust for runs and runs allowed, but also the elements that go into run scoring and then schedule. And by run differential, we've been saying all year, all season long, the Royals have been unlucky, right? I mean, coming into today, they're 20-14, but even after getting blown out yesterday, their first loss by more than 6 runs yesterday, they should have had a 22-12 record based on their runs scored, runs allowed. They were only 2014. So by that metric, unlucky. Yesterday was just the third game all season that the Royals win to the ninth inning without being leading, being tied, or getting at least the tying run in the on deck circle in the ninth inning. If you think about it, like a game that was over in the ninth inning, yesterday was the third game all season that was over before the ninth inning. There are 2 5-run losses
that they lost.
They lost. I'm saying like that the Royals were out of it. Like the Royals had no chance going to the ninth inning. And didn't make a chance occur. They've lost to I think the Mets and the Orioles by 5 runs at one point, and then 11-run loss. But 3 games all season that have basically been like just you could turn off the TV early. That's incredible. And even with that, they were even with the loss yesterday, they were actually unlucky by runs and runs allowed. But what was making me nervous, and we discussed this last week, was the fact that they seem to be scoring a lot more runs than they should. And I kind of hit on it midweek. I was looking at their numbers with men on base versus men not on base, and it's really, really striking. So again, not counting today's game, all right.
I've seen these. Yep.
Yeah, you saw it because it's really striking. People, with nobody on base this season, the Royals had a 597 OPS. They were hitting 202 as a batting average with a 261 on base and a 336 slug. That is dead last in the American League. And I want to emphasize that because that means they are behind the White Sox. I just want to make sure people understand the impact of saying worse in the American League. The White Sox are in the American League, and the Royals have hit worse with nobody on base. The base is empty than the Chicago White Sox. With men on base, the Royals not only are leading the American League in OPS, they are leading it by 55 points. They have an 854 OPS. They're hitting 301 with a 373 on base and a 481 slugging. It's an enormous difference. I saw some people say, well, maybe all teams do better with men on base. A, no. B, we're comparing them to the rest of the league. They are dead last with nobody on, first place with men on base. And yes, obviously, some of the luck they're having in terms of getting good results with men on base will even out with nobody on base. But you want that kind of discrepancy because it means you're bunching your runners together. You want to hit better with men on base. Those hits are going to have more impact. You want to hit better with runners in scoring position. The Royals, I think, are second with runners in scoring position behind the Rangers, actually. But that's how you end up with a 7-run inning in a game. I think they lead the American League, if not the major leagues, in 7-run innings this year. But that's a big part of their run scoring. So that is the thing that worries me. And I think today, actually, they were 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position. And they lost, right? Today was the rare game, and maybe that's what kind of might feel so bad because we just haven't had that happen a lot this year. They have come through in clutch situations all season long, so it really was striking today when that didn't happen, and they paid for it in the late innings. So that is the second part of this. They're lucky in terms of runs, run differential, scoring runs, but unlucky in terms of run differential. There is a third thing, though, which is when it comes to how good their offensive numbers are relative to how well they are hitting the ball. Because this is something I could even 10 years ago, I have no way of telling you, are they just hitting a bunch of line drives right out fielders, or are they having a bunch of bloops that just fall in? Are they lucky in terms of the quality of contact turning into performance? In that category, they are actually quite unlucky. Coming into today, again, they're slugging for the season 391. Like they actually have a below average OPS plus now. Like they're down to, I think, 97 was their OPS plus. They rank 9th in the American League in that category. In slugging, they are dead average. They are 7th, 8th out of 15 teams. So right in the middle of the league in terms of their slugging average, 391. But based on the quality of contact, how hard they hit the ball, the angle at which they hit the ball, according to Baseball Savant, their expected slugging average should be 448. they are almost 50 points behind where they should be in terms of how well they strike the ball and how much slug they're actually getting. Some of that may be the ballpark, because obviously they play in a big ballpark, so those are some of that is home runs that are not clearing the fence in Kauffman Stadium, and turning it outs. So I don't want to overstate that. 57 points sounds like an enormous difference. I think the reality, when you factor in the ballpark and everything else, it's probably more like half that. But that's still a pretty substantial difference. Like, it can be frustrating to look at this offense, and they basically have 3 above average hitters in Witt and Salvi and Pasquantino. It might not be quite that bad. And so your hope is that the guys whose numbers look terrible right now will start to regress back to the mean and start giving you some performance, and that'll make up for the fact that they can't keep hitting this much better with men on base.
Well, let's go back. We had the comment. Where is it? This one. Offense, free agent positioning signings. Q and Zumwalt can't make chicken salad out of chicken. You know what? The free agent position players are terrible, and I think we even had one find it that said it's time to cut them all. Right? Adam Frazier, Garrett Hampson. Who am I leaving out? There was 3. Oh, and Hunter Renfroe. Now, is it time to cut them all? Like, I'm with you. Like, I think there has to be, a regression back to the mean. But I don't know. Like, you can make a case that Hunter Renfroe, they picked up on the very end of the downslope. There are a lot of numbers out there about, I think you brought it up last week, that the steroid era is over. And so the aging curve is swifter and harsher.
Right.
Which we all know that you're not going to be 40 hitting 50 home runs like Barry Bonds was, but man, and the velocity is making guys age even more, how hard everybody throws. I mean, do you have any hope for any of these guys getting back to being respectable hitters?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I mean, Garrett Hampson OPS, just so people, and I don't know if I think this is updated today's. I'm off the MLB page for this because I think it updates. Hampson, 493. Frazier, 486. Renfroe, 519.
Yeah, they're pretty terrible. And Garrett Hampson slugging here, according to Baseball Savants, at 250. His expected slug is 218. So he's not one of the guys who's hitting into tough luck. Like, Garrett Hampson's a soft. He's a singles hitter who has a little bit of on base ability, some speed. Like, there are some things he can provide. It's frustrating, and again, this is what sort of still drives me a little crazy about the Royals, is they have, to their credit, JJ deserves, to this point, tremendous credit. They have made enormous strides in making the 50-50 decisions, making even the 30-70 decisions, taking risks on players, trading for Cole Reagan, identifying unheralded guys. Cole Reagan, James MacArthur, obviously, but like player development, we are seeing in the minor leagues quietly, the Royals farm system is, at least in terms of wins and losses, off to a much better start than we've seen in recent years. And some of their prospects are showing signs of development. Like, you see from a grand organizational picture, the difficult thing to do, player development, and making your players better and identifying unheralded players in other organizations and bringing them in and making them better, which is really the secret sauce of winning organizations today. The Royals have made enormous strides in 20 months or so since JJ took over as general manager. And yet, when it comes to the easy decisions, when it comes to the obvious mistakes, they're still making those, because they signed Hunter Renfroe, and they signed these guys in the first place. That's what's frustrating, because they're kind of in a bind now. Garrett Hampson, it's a 1-year deal, $2 million. Like, they could move on from him fairly easily. Even Adam Frazier, 1 year, and I think he has the versatility he has there to play the infield, play the outfield. That one, I'm willing to give it some time. Hunter Renfro's a tough one because he has a player option for next year. It's a 2-year deal he can walk away from. But you cut him, it's $13 million, I think, this year and next year, maybe more. He has shown minimal offensive production. He did have a home run was he 2 days ago, tied the game, and hallelujah. Like I don't think they're going to give up on him at this point. Certainly, it's too early, but the warning signs are flashing. That the bat speed's gone, and it happens fast now. So the Royals for the time being are going to have to work around it, manage around it. But to me, and this is the question I think that we'll need to start discussing, you and I, at what point does the fact that they are actually in contention, which is a surprise to everyone and probably a little bit to them, at what point do they have to start taking that seriously in making decisions for the short term, even if it disrupts kind of their long-term thinking, both in terms of these guys, but also in terms of like the bullpen and some of the guys who are in there, as well. Well, what point do they say, you know what, we believe in this guy in the long term, but we can't afford to keep him around in the short term. We're trying to win games now.
Are we? Listen, they seem to have done very well with Lugo, the guy they spent the most on.
Right.
Like, let's keep in mind, Garrett Hampson, they spent the least.
Right.
If you walk on a couple million, fine. And I put up the question there, like, why are they playing him when Lofton seems to be better? He wasn't red hot at the big leagues. He's better down in the minor leagues. And I think they'll be there. The obvious is, roster management. They want to control as many players as possible. Lofton's got options. They don't want to walk on Hampson, watch him get signed someplace else, and then turn it around and be a productive player.
Right.
Now, the question is, how long do you go? So I'll ask you that. 40 games for some people is okay, now we know what we are. And we're closing in on that. 6 games away from that. So we're going to be there. But where is the give up point in the season on someone where you just eject?
Right. And you made a really good point about the whole, this comes down to roster management. Like you want to keep your options open. You want to keep depth, but that depth, if you have a better player in AAA who's not playing because he has options and Garrett Hampson doesn't, and it starts costing you games in a season in which you have a chance to really shock the world and make the playoffs, that's not good roster management. Like, especially if that player in the major leagues is a guy who's only under contract for the next 5 months anyway. Yeah, let's say Garrett Hampson does go somewhere else and has a decent half season. Well, unless he ends up having a better half season than Nick Lofton does if he's called up, you still haven't really hurt the team, and he's a free agent at the end of the year anyway. So, on a player-by-player basis, obviously everyone's different, but with someone like Garrett Hampson or Adam Frazier, like Nick Lofton, if this continues for another 2 weeks where those two guys aren't hitting and Nick Lofton keeps hitting like a guy who no longer needs to be in AAA, because even when he was in the majors, only 35 plate appearances, he had a 371 OBP, and he's right-handed, and that really fits what they need. Somebody who can give Michael Massey the occasional day off at second base, or especially MJ Melendez is still struggling from time to time. Vinny will need a day off every now and then. Like, a right-handed bat is something they need. In the next 2 weeks or so, if Hampson and or Frazier are still struggling, they need some offense. Nick Lofton is the guy you talk about, but more urgently and more difficult is, what do you do about Drew Waters? Because they need outfield help. I don't know if you want to get into the outfield numbers now. We'll get into that, but they need a bat in the outfield. Drew Waters, last I checked, had an OPS over 900, which he's done before. But the point is, he has kind of proven he's too good for AAA. He might still be a quad A player, but right now quad A is better than the production they're getting from some of their outfield spots. And again, if you're trying to win, if you're trying to develop players for the future, maybe Drew Waters can benefit from more time in AAA. If you're trying to win now, he might be your best option starting at some position on an everyday basis.
Who's the better defender
between
Waters and whoever you're going to use him to replace?
That's a good question. Again, in center field, Kyle Isbell is the better defender. That's the one thing I think we can be sure about. And Isbell, honestly, his numbers aren't great, but he's slugging. He's hit for some pop, and the defense is so good. His bat is, we can carry it for now. I would not bench Kyle Isbell. I might sit him against lefties, Maybe you play Drew Waters in center against lefties with Isbell coming in for defense as soon as the circumstances warrant. In left, I mean, I think he's a better left fielder than Melendez. Look, MJ's made some strides, but I think Drew Waters is frankly kind of overqualified to be a left fielder. And in right field, Hunter Renfroe's thrown out some runners. His arm has rendered value. I think his range is not great. It's probably average minus. So I think Drew Waters is at least his equal there and maybe a little bit better. So I think defensively you can make it work with Drew Waters as an upgrade and potentially an offensive upgrade too.
At
either left or right field.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, Kyle Isbell's on pace for 14 homers. So let's spare the pop. Okay. Like that's, that's not some pop. But you're right. He's so good defensively. And that's such an important spot that's the least of the worries.
Right.
Question is, do you take, and the other thing that I think is creating a problem, Salvador Perez is trending more towards DH. Right? Have we noticed that?
DH. Like he's only he's caught, maybe 60. I don't have the exact numbers. I could probably look it up, but say about 60% of the games. And look, the Royals have been doing this for years, and he has been a remarkably better hitter in his 30s. So I can't fault the strategy.
I'm not down on that.
Right.
He's got the most pop on the team. I'm just saying it's making it harder.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right. I think they have to
find to try to find a platoon, that you're going to work with, guys, putting enough outfielders out there to where you can have 3 spots in the outfield and then also the DH to make sure you're getting the right left. It gets harder when Salvi's there. Not that's a good thing because Salvi's really hitting right to the last couple of games.
He started 33 games this year, 20 of them at catcher, 9 at first base, 4 at DH. So exactly 60% of his starts have been behind the plate, which means, like you said, he's a part-time first base / DH, and that has always made this a challenge. And this is why they're paying Matt Quatraro the big bucks, because I think he's done a decent job of moving guys around and you've the occasional Adam Frazier start in right field, which is kind of weird, right? But it's worked out. He saved a home run and saved a game the last week. And I think Drew Waters, another reason why I think he deserves to be here, he has the versatility. He can play all 3 outfield positions. You can make it work with him. Look, you Royals have to consider maybe you go with 7 relievers. Maybe the solution is you don't send a hitter down. Maybe you go with a 14th hitter, a 5th bench player, and that allows you to keep Drew Waters, because Dairon Blanco has tremendous value in the role they have him in. They've done a good job of maximizing his value. He almost got them an extra run today, which could have saved them the game. And if you're not willing to cut bait on Frazier and Hampson yet, then there's no other solution. But Hampson is, essentially with Blanco, Hampson's speed is nice, but Blanco covers that. His ability to play second base is nice, but Adam Frazier covers that, right? So I'm not sure what Hampson at this point provides that the Royals don't have already on their bench. So given that, I'd rather have that bench spot used by a guy who could actually start in Drew Waters. So even more than Nick Lofton, I really feel like they have to make a decision if they want to get some offense in this lineup. That's the guy I think they really have to consider ringing up.
So what do you think, by the way, right now, people aren't paying attention. 3 homers, 15 driven in, 322, 408, 533 slash line for Drew Waters. What do you think Drew Waters is? What his career's over? He's 25 years old. He's not old yet, but he's not young.
Right.
It's time for him to be getting to the big leagues. What is he?
So, let's look at what are his actual, we actually have some major league numbers to look at for him too, right? He's played almost 450 plate appearances in the majors, hitting 231, 306, 402, a 93 OPS plus. So almost league average as a hitter. I think he's he could be a 250 hitter. And then so up all those numbers by about 15, 20 points, a 320 on base, a 420 slug. League average or very, very close to it. He really is just kind of league average across the board. I think there is potential for him, even at 25, that he could take a step forward there. The way hitters are now. If they fix, if there's some hitch in his swing, there's something about his swing that they obviously liked, and they were able to improve him dramatically after they traded for him. So I still think there's potential for him to be better. But if he just does what he did last year, but adds, a few, basically cuts his strikeouts by like 5%, he'll be a league average hitter. That's fine. Right now, that the Royals just need average at the spots not taken up by Witt, Salvi, I guess Pasquantino. And then, I mean, to me, Michael Massey's a guy I'm excited is, going to give the Royals, the offensive improvement at second base that we've been, that we weren't getting when he was injured. I mean, he's hitting 292 right now with a 479 slug. It's only like 45 plate appearances. But I mean, Massey, which is really interesting here, he's got 48 at bats this year. I think 49 or 50 plate appearances. He struck out 4 times. Like Michael Massey's a 20-25% strikeout rate. He's down to like under 10%. And even in only 50 plate appearances, Massey's always been a good contact guy given the pop. And I'm really hoping that's why I was so disappointed. He was the one guy who was injured when this year started. I really was hoping he could be a breakout player. Massey might give them a little more offense too. So if they can just get average production from the 3 holes in their lineup, that could go a long way towards keeping them in the pennant race all season long.
Yeah, no, I listen. And where's Melendez future? What is Melendez?
I don't know, man. He remains schizophrenic as a hitter, and just as exasperating a talent as we've seen in a while. Because I mean, there are times you think he's got it figured out and he's going to be a middle of the order threat, and then the bat completely disappears. There was earlier this week, and he's actually kind of hit his way out of a slump now. I think he's 3 for his last 7 or something like that, which I mean, it's not great, but he was, I think, 0 for 27. And there was a game earlier this week. He's in the 9th inning. He swung through on the first 2 pitches, 92 and 93 mile an hour fastballs, basically down the middle. I'm watching it, and he swung right through them. And at that point, I'm just like, he needs to go down to AAA just to clear his head. Like he looked lost at the plate. And then he's come around and he's got a couple of hits the last couple of games. So I don't know what to make of it, but the bottom line is this is the thing we were going to talk about the outfield. The Royals combined production from their outfield coming into today, and I don't think it got any better today, have a 190 batting average, 255 on base, and a 320 slugging. 575 OPS, once again, dead last in the American League. Yes, even behind the Chicago White Sox, who are 14th. When you look at those numbers, it's a miracle. The Royals are like one of the biggest surprises in baseball this year. Their outfielders, none of them can hit. But there's an opportunity there because outfielders who can hit are not that hard to find. They might have one. Frankly, they might have 2 in their mind. Like maybe in a month or 2, we're talking about Nick Lofton starting every day in left field. Like if MJ Melendez keeps hitting like this, they're gonna have to consider options. At some point, if they stay on the race, they can look for trades. But right now, they need at least one new outfielder out there. I think Drew Waters is the obvious guy. He's done it before. It's not like he's, we have no idea what to expect from him. I think defensively, he will not be a downgrade in the corners. And he might be the spark this offense needs a little bit.
Yeah. No, I think they're going to have to do something, right? Because, I think you mentioned the luck and unlucky. And I do think they're built the right way. At least the good guys are all together, but they are a little, you got to have more from the bottom. Right. Bottom hits, we win. Every beer league softball guy has said that on his way into the chain link fence dugout. And there are days that's going to be it. And we've had a couple people, it was a while ago, talking about how bad they are on Sunday. And that's part of the reason why. Because
they don't have the depth. We've talked about this, all season long. I mean, this to me is why Michael Massey is so big, because he has extended the lineup. The problem is he got healthy and came into the lineup at really the same point that MJ went ice cold. Nelson Velasquez went ice cold. So didn't really extend the lineup, but at least he kept that 2 that you could, let's say 1 through 5, because Mike Garcia has been, better than the bottom of the lineup at least. And that is, again, one of the reasons why they have bunched their hits together and have scored maybe more than they you would expect. It's because the good hitters, like I haven't broken it down by player, but I do wonder if one of the reasons why they're so much better with men on base is the guys batting with men on base are Bobby Witt, Vinny Pasquantino, Salvador Perez, because they're more like the guys who are actually getting on base are the guys in front of them, right? Like Kyle Isbell's probably not batting with a ton of guys on base because Hunter Renfroe's never getting on base in front of him. But I do think if Drew Waters comes up and extends that lineup one more battle, he's get even one more threat in that lineup batting seventh, it makes that lineup look so much better and runs that much more efficiently.
With free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, every project coming with a written warranty. GAN Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer, helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. You can find them online at ganasphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. That's 816-484-3338. GAN Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. The roster changes. Is there anything else? You want to change anything in the bullpen?
There's one other thing I want to talk about. We're talking about roster management, right? And at what point do the needs of the present outweigh the needs of the future? And I think there's one obvious thing that we have to at least discuss now, especially with Will Smith. He's thrown 4 scoreless outings in a row, I believe, but it's still not somebody you really trust. So you have him that you don't trust in the bullpen, but you can carry one guy like that. Can the Royals really carry Matt Sauer anymore? Like a Rule 5 pick, a guy that would not be on the roster if you were not a Rule 5 pick, which is completely understandable. The Royals have done this in the past. And you carry the guy for a year, and he's yours for he's yours to keep. You can send him to the minor leagues the following year, et cetera, et cetera. If you were having a really promising season, in the bullpen, not even necessarily like a Brad Keller rookie season, which is one of the all-time great rookie seasons by a Rule 5 pick, but just showing signs of, you could be a 4 ERA guy. I'd say, okay, you can use that guy because you could at some point you can find a spot for him that's not a 6-run game one way or the other. But even before he blew up yesterday, he was a ticking time bomb. He has 10 walks and 5 strikeouts. All right, when you're a pitcher and you have twice as many walks as strikeouts, that's a problem. His FIP is 582. His ERA now is 584 because he gave up 5 runs yesterday. They used him with us down 6 runs. And the thing, how many pitchers can you save for games that are completely out of reach? Because the Royals are going to be playing a lot of close games, and you can't use Schreiber and James MacArthur and Angel Serpa in every single game. It hasn't been an issue to this point because I'm not sure how many options the Royals had in AAA, but Walter Pennington is continuing to pitch amazingly well down there.
Well, that's the guy.
That's one guy. Will Klein came up and threw great. If he throws strikes, the stuff wise, let me ask you, who's better stuff, him or Matt Sauer? Like if Matt Sauer were a guy we thought was a future, this guy could be a top of the rotation starter, it's one thing. They saw him as maybe a potential number 4, number 5 starter or good middle reliever. If that's his upside, look, I'd love to keep him in the organization, but if you're trying to win, the reason why the Royals have been so aggressive about Rule 5 picks in the past and have had some big successes going back to Joaquin Soria, it's because they had the luxury of not trying to win. This is a good problem to have, but it is a problem, right? They're trying to win now. Carlos Hernandez is coming back from his injury. He had a really bad first outing. His last 2 outings are much better. I think he threw today and threw a scoreless inning. Alec Marsh started. By the way, Alec Marsh, it's really interesting. He seems to have leveled up in the major leagues, and he went down to AAA and 4 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. He looked like a major leaguer pitching in AAA for a guy who's never been successful at AAA. This is the guy with a terrible minor league ERA. So that was really encouraging. It was great to see Lynch pitch well today, but I think Marsh will be back in the rotation in 5 days. So that's good because the Royals have depth issues, obviously. But Carlos Hernandez came in the 5th inning and threw a scoreless inning, struck out 2 or 3 batters. Those guys are getting close to coming back. Tyler Duffy is in the bullpen, and maybe they replace him. But at some point, Matt Sauer, if you're trying to win and you have a pitcher better than Matt Sauer in AAA, I think maybe you're going to have to make the difficult decision and offer him back to the Yankees, unless there's something about him that you think is, you can unlock here very soon.
Yeah. How about this one? This is pretty pessimistic. I know it sucks to hear, but this team isn't really ready to win anything. They're playing over their heads. Let's just enjoy them not losing 100-plus games.
Well, I mean, that's why that's why we're talking about the next 2 or 3 weeks. I think 2 weeks ago, that was absolutely a sentiment. We were about to hit the tough road in the schedule. The fact that they're 8-8 against, Tigers and Blue Jays and Rangers, at some point you have to look at the season they're playing and take it at face value. Right? I'm not saying go out and, trade a bunch of prospects for, impending free agents or something, but like, the talent that you have on hand in the minor leagues, if it's better than what you got in the major leagues, you got to use it. Cutting bait on Garrett Hampson and Matt Sauer is not going to interrupt the development of the next Royals dynasty. I hate to say it. So you can make those moves on the margins, I think.
7 of 10 after they get done with Milwaukee, which even if they drop 2 out of 3, they will have played 1 game under 500 through the 19-game stretch.
Which I think we both said we would have taken 9 and 10.
Yes, absolutely. The Angels for 4, Seattle for 3, Oakland for 3. So 7 of 10 are against, lesser teams. With the Mariners in there in the middle, there are going to be times where they get a chance to fatten the schedule as well. It's not like they did get, and we pointed out, 6 of their 11 games against the White Sox are
7 of 13.
Yep. So was it 7 of 13?
Yeah.
Okay, 7 of 13 are done, but there are other teams still out there. They got, a couple series with the A's still to go. Mm-hmm. I'm looking through. Colorado is on there. St. Louis is not playing good baseball. They're up there. Arizona is not what they were last year. I mean, there are, spots where they can do fine. And I don't think anyone's asking, listen, if the goal is to win 100 games, no, they can't do it. But we don't think that's the goal in this division, do we?
I mean, play 500 the rest of the way. They'll be 84 and 78. I mean, like that might be all you need. It certainly will make September very interesting. If they can play, 3, they go 3 and 3 and then 4 and 3, right? They go 7 and 6, like the rest of the way. That's 80 to 89 wins. You're probably making the playoffs with 88 or 89 wins. So staying at 500 against the good part of their schedule. Now they have to go. I mean, they're going to play the Angels without Mike Trout. Like that team without Mike Trout right now is, you have to win 2 out of 3 there, right? But they're going to have that opportunity. The A's have been surprisingly frisky for a team that is, basically doesn't have a home. Like they're at this point they're a barnstorming team and they're 17 and 18. But you got to treat them like the team everybody thought they would be. And I'm not saying make some dramatic trade right now. The Padres moving in on Luis Arias. I mean, that's the kind of the ballsy kind of thing that AJ Preller does. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it blows up in his face. I don't think the Royals need to make that kind of move just yet. Let's give it another month. But
if they could find a position player that they had 3 years control on, would you be interested? An outfielder.
The devil's in the details. I would. I mean, if the Royals, they're not doing their job if they're not exploring opportunities for ideally cost-controlled guys. But you know what? If you can get a guy who's a free agent at the end, like the thing I loved about the Luis Arias trade from the Padres' perspective, they may have given up too much because AJ Preller always gives up too much. But I love this. I really do feel like this is another example of teams using not just analytics or data, but common sense to change the way they operate compared to 20 years ago. If a team is out of it and you're, in May, right? There aren't a lot of teams that are out of it in May, but the Marlins are out of it, right? And you're in contention. Why are you waiting to the trade deadline? Why wait till July to pick up a player who can help you for 2 months when you can get them for 4.5 months, right? I mean, the Royals and Rangers sensibly thought about the world as Chapman. They didn't wait till July 30th. They waited till June 30th. The Rangers got more value out of them. The Royals were able to extract more value out of them.
And the obvious answer for this club is that there's no track record of them hanging around. In fact, the most recent history we have is 21, where they were kind of doing this and they completely fell apart.
Right. And I wouldn't make that move today. But I'm just saying, explore what's out there. Is if there's an outfielder on a one, who's a free agent at the end of the year, and you can get him cheaply. Again, maybe not today, but by the end of this month, if the Royals are still in the race, if they're still above 500 at the end of the month, at some point you owe it to the organization, you owe it to the fan base, and I think it's a smart move to maybe bring in a player because again, precisely because this does feel like even though they have the analytics say that this is not a stone cold fluke like 2021 or 2003. Like there's still a feeling that they may not come out next year and do this again. So if I could take a win or two away from the 2025 Royals and put it on the 2024 Royals right now, I think I would do that. I think that that's worthwhile. And so in two or 3 weeks, if
You think it's worthwhile now?
Well, that's why I'm saying
you'd be bitching about it next year on this podcast.
Well, then you can throw it in my face if I do. And let's see where they are in 2 or 3 weeks. But if they've got a chance to win, at some point you owe it to yourself to try. I'm not saying throw away the future, but I'm saying you can make this team better at a reasonable price. You got to start looking at it. But I think to do that now, when you still have, you can push the Drew Waters button, the Nick Lofton button, hell, the Logan Porter button, if you really want to. There are buttons at your disposal. You don't have to, that aren't nearly as dramatic, not nearly as costly. Let's push some of those buttons first.
Yeah. All right. How about Daniel Lynch? What do you want to like? You buying this? Because to me, until I see him do it again at the big league level, particularly with the way he struggled at the minor league level, it's Bobby Keppel. They went out and tied one on last night down on the plaza to the Rangers or downtown or at the casino that, everybody had a good old time. Because guess what? The guy who sucks in AAA is going tomorrow, boys. Let's go have some fun, is what it felt like to me.
Well, Soren, since you've been doubting Daniel Lynch all along, of course I believe in it. No, I don't. I don't know, man. I mean, yes, he was struggling in Omaha. He came up, he was throwing, like, to me, the issue with him is simply the velocity because he has the pitches, but he's never had the strikeout stuff, at least at the major league level, because his velocity kind of backed up after he got to the major leagues and he's dealt with some nagging injuries, etc. So I was very impressed. He came out throwing he was sitting 93 in the first inning. By the fifth inning, he was 90, 91. And that's really the difference between Daniel Lynch at 93. And I mean, to his credit, the first inning was the inning he struggled the most, and he was much more efficient after that. But Daniel Lynch at 93, throwing the slider in the 86, 87, that's a guy I believe in. The Daniel Lynch throwing 90, 91 with a slider in 84, 85 range, questionable. As in a sixth starter, I think he'll be fine. Right? He came up. Him and Jonathan Bolin both got a chance. Bolin looked kind of overwhelmed by the moment and couldn't throw strikes, and Daniel Lynch at least threw strikes. The fact that he has experience in the major leagues is helpful. But I think what I saw from today wasn't so much, he should be in the rotation. Is there a spot for him in the bullpen?
No.
Okay, well, there's your answer then.
No.
Clearly you're not believing him based on one start, and I understand.
I saw the same velocity numbers you did. Riddle me this, Batman. How in this day and age where everybody throws harder and harder and harder, has this guy thrown softer and softer and softer? Like what am I missing? Like how are you 6'7"? Have that kind of length to generate, even easier to generate velocity. And you're backing up. How does that happen?
I think it's health. I mean, I think ultimately he's just
not
been able to stay healthy. Yeah, I mean, look, Chris Young is 6'10" and like they do through 90 on a good day. Height's not everything, but he used to throw harder when he was, an elite prospect. When Keith Law was singing his praises 2 to 3 years ago, he was sitting 93, 94 the whole game, and he's not anymore. But I was at least intrigued. Like my impression from what he was doing in Omaha was that he didn't even have that gear in him. So I'm happy by the performance, and it does make me think, okay, if the Royals need an emergency starter, maybe they go to him next time again instead of Bolin or whatever. I'm not ready to put him in the rotation. But I'm glad that we have I saw today. I'm glad we have that potential depth if we need it, and we're going to need it. Like it's just inevitable. You're going to need, more starts from guys other than your big five.
Go down, have some success at AAA. First of all, I'd like to see Alec Marsh back.
I think he'll be back next start. I mean, he had a great rehab today, and I think all systems are go. It would really be a problem if they're like, oh, Daniel Lynch was so good, let's give him another start and give Alec Marsh one more rehab. No, let's just get Alec back up here. I'm confident that I believe in him more than Daniel Lynch.
Don't return to the scene of the crime. You got away. That's enough.
Right.
Don't go back trying to steal anymore. Right.
The police have put cameras up now. There's video now. And
yes.
That you could use that literally, that metaphor. So
he did some good things. Now go back down to the AAA and build on it. But I'm with you. I do get it. And Chris Young worked out of the bullpen and was effective, but he really knew how to pitch. Daniel Lynch has just never done that. I hope listen, he's a great kid. I hope he figures it out, but when I see that kind of velocity, I think, the arm is shot,
right,
which is amazing because he hadn't even thrown that much and had a pandemic year and everything else that, was supposed to make you have more zip and more health, and didn't happen.
Look, he's an Iron Man compared to Asa Lacy. Sometimes you just, it's not that easy. Throwing 90 plus miles an hour is not easy on your arm. And, some guys break down. So, I mean, he's again, I don't think he's not an injury basket case or anything. He's lost 2% of his stuff, but sometimes losing 2% is the difference between being effective and not being effective.
Well, when we talk to you next, they will have played their 3 games against the Brewers and 4 against those lowly Angels of Anaheim. So we will see what they can do at that point. I will certainly feel, I'm hoping, a lot better. I don't know. We'll see. For the good doctor, Dr. Rany Jazayerli, I'm Soren Petro. Remember, we're always brought to you by our friends at GAN Asphalt and Concrete. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty, whether it's just some signage, it's striping, it's sealing, whether it's building an entirely new parking lot. GAN Asphalt and Concrete is your one-stop shop to handle anything. One contractor, all things parking lot. Find them online at ganasphalt.com. For Rany Jazayerli, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on Kaufman Corner.